everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and we're just going to get into a couple of real quick things. Read the injury report. Sawyer Gipson-Long, as we reported last week, underwent UCL reconstruction surgery. This does not mean he underwent Tommy John surgery. This is slightly different. This is... they basically take and put in a brace on your elbow. In the elbow, they brace the ligament and add some strengthening agents to allow the ligament to heal, and the brace is in there to prevent the tear prevent the ligament from tearing again or tearing any further than what it already is. So Sawyer Gipson-Long, of course, a pre-med student in college, so he kind of had an idea what was going on, and he made the choice that he made based on discussions with Dr. Keith Meister as well as others on the procedure, and that's what he chose to do. Gio Urshela has been cleared to resume baseball activities. He should be coming off of the injured list shortly, and Andy Ibanez is at a rehab assignment in Toledo. My guess is he will start playing with the Tigers tomorrow night. He'll be activated, and not sure who they're going to send down, because Winsel Perez has done quite well for himself. He's hit over 260. He got his first major league home run today. He's done well on the bases. He's played well defensively. Buddy Kennedy has a home run in his short time up, and has played well defensively as well. Now, he hasn't run the bases as well as Winsel Perez has, but he doesn't have Winsel's speed, so it's kind of hard to run the bases, to steal bases and such when you don't have a lot of speed to burn. Now, he does run the bases well, i.e. he knows when to go first to third, second to home, when to take the extra base, when not to, but he's not done the same things on the base paths as Winsel Perez. And really, they're two different players. So Winsel Perez used to be an infielder, had some throwing issues from second base and shortstop. They moved him to the outfield, and he's doing a lot better in the outfield. Buddy Kennedy is strictly an infielder, second, short, third. So we'll see. Winsel Perez does have the edge over Buddy Kennedy in the sense that he's a switch hitter, whereas Buddy Kennedy is specifically right-handed. So that might play into A.J. Hinch's decision. The offensive versatility, if nothing else, that Winsel Perez does offer. So we will see who gets sent down, who stays up, and then, of course, whoever does stay up will go back to Toledo when Gio Urshela comes off the injured list. Probably by the end of the week is my guess. With that, not much more going on from a injury standpoint, which is good. Detroit comes into play tomorrow against St. Louis with a record of 16-12, which is still only good enough for third place in the division, behind Kansas City in second and Cleveland in first. And look, Kansas City came into Detroit and played us tough like they always do. And you know what? We took 2 out of 3 from Kansas City. That's making a statement. You know, we didn't necessarily gain any ground on Kansas City, but we didn't lose any either. And so that's important, and that means a lot. So that is the situation there. Now, Detroit did something last week that I haven't seen in a very, very, very long time, and that is they went into Tampa to Tropicana Field and dominated the Tampa Bay Rays 2 out of 3. Now, the last game of the series, Tampa came in and won it, pretty much going away. But game 1, Detroit beat them 7-1. Game 2, Detroit beat them 4-2. And in that 4-2 win, they were down 2-1, and they came back. Riley Green had 2 homers that game, it was impressive, and it made me feel good to be a Tigers fan, just to watch them really just beat Tampa at its own game and win the matchups and win the base running. The game within the game when it comes to base running and defense. Now, the last game, the defense deserted them a little bit. Defense deserted them a little bit yesterday as well. This podcast, of course, being recorded on Sunday, April 28th, 2024. So, base running was good for Detroit. And, they took the extra base and stole bases and really shut down the running game for Tampa in the first 2 games. The last game, Tampa kind of ran all over Detroit a little bit, much like Kansas City did in the first game of the series with Kansas City here over the weekend. Now, Detroit lost that first game 8-0. They ended up they end up actually losing the series total in scoring 14-10, but the 8 runs that they gave up on Friday being shut out, and then winning 6-5 last night and 4-1 today. So we'll take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City anytime we can get it, and that's just how close these guys play every year. So currently Detroit sits at 7-2 in the division. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Currently, Detroit sits at 9-5. 9-5 in the division. 9-4 in the division. They've taken 4 out of 7 against Minnesota, 3 in a row against the White Sox, and 2 from Kansas City. And then, of course, they've lost 3 to Minnesota and 1 to Kansas City. So they're 9-4 in the division. And you know what? They're 7-8 outside of the division, which is not glorious. But let's think about who those losses are to. They've got 1 loss against Tampa. They've got 2 losses against Oakland. They've got 3 losses against Texas, and they've got 1 loss against the Mets and 1 loss against the Pirates. So the Pirates are playing good ball. The Mets are playing good ball. Texas is playing good ball. Really, the only 2 teams that aren't division contenders at the moment, and it's early in the season, it's only 28 games in, but the only 2 teams that are not division contenders at the moment would be the Oakland A's and the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays. And Tampa plays in the American League East, where everybody is at or right just below the 500 mark. So, it's I am not surprised. I am not disappointed. I am not having any problems with the way that the Tigers are playing and the Tigers' record. So, 16-12 right now is look, they never won 16 games in April under A.J. Hinch. This team is guaranteed a winning month because of their series win against Kansas City. They are guaranteed. I'm going to say this again. They are guaranteed a winning April. The Detroit Tigers are guaranteed a winning April. So think about that. Look at that. And you can say, oh, well, right now they're 13-12 in the month of April because the first 3 games were in Chicago and, those were in March. Okay, that's fine. I'll go with that. I'll stipulate to that. But they got 3 against the Cardinals tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And there's no reason why they can't beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3. So if they beat the Cardinals tomorrow night or Tuesday, they've had a winning April. They need one more win to have a winning April. That's something A.J. Hinch has never done in Detroit. Now, has he done it elsewhere? Has he done it in Houston? Yeah, of course he has. Has he done it in Arizona? I honestly don't think so. But that was a different team. That was a team that didn't have the talent that Houston had. I dare say that was an Arizona team that didn't have the talent that Detroit has right now. I'm gonna ride this until I can't ride it anymore, folks. This is a good baseball team. This is a very good baseball team. It's a very solid baseball team. It's a team that's going to win the American League Central Division this year. It is a team that is going to win the division and make the playoffs as a division winner. It may not necessarily get a first round bye. That's fine. That's understandable. It may not necessarily get out of the first round. It may not necessarily get out of the wild card series. So, it might lose it might be a team that loses to the 6th seed. Whoever that may be. But you know what? Considering that they haven't made the playoffs since 2014, I'll take that. This team's going to win the division. This is a good baseball team. This is a very solid baseball team. Now, is it a dynasty? Is it a team that's going to dominate baseball like the Braves or the Dodgers? No. I wouldn't even put them on the same level as the Phillies. They did take 2 out of 3 against the Mets, but the Mets have turned it around. But the Brewers, the Cubs, yeah, they can hang with those guys. They can beat those guys. The Giants, the Diamondbacks, yeah, they can beat those guys. I wouldn't put them in on the same level as Baltimore or the Yankees, but they could certainly hang with the Astros and hang with the Rangers. So this is a good team, and they're playing good baseball. They're not playing clean baseball. They're not playing the cleanest of games these days. But they're playing good baseball, and they are going to win their fair share this year. They're going to finish above 500. They're going to win the division. Oh, well, Cleveland's in first and Kansas City's in second. That's 28 games in. Talk to me 128 games in. When Kansas City's fallen off and Cleveland's fallen off. And Detroit's still there, and Detroit's battling Minnesota. Because mark my words, Minnesota's coming. Minnesota is going to be better than what they are. But with all that being said, Detroit took 8 out of 13 against them last year. That's your division champs. And Detroit beat them last year. That's your division champs. Detroit has 4 out of 7 wins against them this year. So they only need to win 3 more times in the next 6 against Minnesota to say they had a winning record against Minnesota. So you give it time, folks. Watch this season. Detroit's coming. Detroit's a good squad. Minnesota's coming. Minnesota's going to be a better squad than they are. Cleveland, Kansas City, they're going to fall back to the pack. But Detroit and Minnesota are still going to be there at the end. Mark my words. 3 against the Cardinals coming up this week, and then Detroit goes on the road again. And we will see where that takes them and what sort of things happen as we turn the calendar to May on Wednesday. With that, I want to thank YouTube, and I want to thank Anchor for distributing the podcast. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts if you want. But check us out on YouTube if you can. Subscribe and tell your friends. YouTube.com/@TB Podcast. Mastodon @TB Podcast @tweezcake.social. That's TB Podcast @TWEESE cake.social. We're also at Podcast Tigers on Twitter. You can email the show, tigersbaseballpodcast@gmail.com. It's the longest email address in the world, and I'm proud of that. Thank you very much. Until next week, we will talk to you later. And thanks for listening, and go Tigers.